for all of Limestone County. Lead, guide, and direct us, dear Lord, in everything we do in our lives. We want to say a special prayer today, sir, to help the families of the tragedies that have taken place in Wisconsin. We ask that you be with all of us today here in Limestone County and throughout. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting. Let the record show that all the commissioners are present, with the exception of Commissioner Friday. You'll see if we have any citizen comments. Everybody that wanted to speak have a chance to sign in. Y'all know about it. Okay. What I'm going to ask is that we, if you're for or against, we only got two. And I'm assuming this is, but anyway, I won't even say that. Let me just say this up front. We're going to limit the discussion or your discussion to about 3 minutes, okay? There can be no commissioner's court action on anything that y'all speak about. And that even at the risk of being rude, we won't be able to answer questions to you unless it's on the agenda. And at that time, we can talk about it only if the commissioner's court wants to visit with you about it. I will say up front, and I'll always say this is an open meeting, but it's not an open forum. And sometimes that's something that gets a little hard for us to do and for y'all to do because you're the taxpayers, but this is a commissioner's court meeting. Once again, we encourage people to come forward and speak on items that they're concerned about, but don't be offended if we don't answer you and appear to be almost rude, okay? So at this time, we have Mr. Dan Giat. Mr. Giat, you've got the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, Judge. And recognizing that you're now able to pronounce my name. Much appreciated. So let me start by saying that at this part of the process, I'm a little lost. And I'm talking specifically about the Limestone Wind Project. At the last meeting, we met to discuss or take action on a tax abatement application. I've become somewhat savvy from the state comptroller. The word abatement's not mentioned here till item number 3. Okay, and as Mr. Forrest mentioned to me this morning, maybe we got the cart in front of the horse. We don't quite understand that yet, but we will. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is when the state comptroller, at the last sentence of the first paragraph, where it says as a taxing unit with a website must post the adopted guidelines and criteria online. I would like to have a copy of the reinvestment zones that are in place as well as tax abatements. That should be made public online. I've checked with our tax office. I've checked with our clerk of court, and no one knows where those documents are kept. I'm just bringing it to your attention. Now, today we're going to consider action. But there's 2 items on the agenda, but you know, as a citizen, it's very difficult for me to understand what we're doing here. And it seems like to me the water's muddy. I mean, you got to really spend a lot of time to catch up with you guys. There are 2 items on the agenda, 20 and 21. We're talking about a date for a public hearing, for a notice in the newspaper on the creation of a reinvestment zone. That could be Limestone Wind. You don't identify it. I mean, we have to know what you guys are discussing such that we understand what's being discussed. And the next item is give notice to other taxing jurisdictions. Well, once again, guys, if I'm understanding that right, that's number 3C, where it says notice to other taxing units and agreement execution. So I am completely lost on the process, but that's not why I came here today. I came here today to specifically talk about the landowners in Limestone County in the northern area And most specifically, the only information that we have right now as citizens is the map that was published on the 313 application from the Coolidge School Board or Independent School District. If there are other maps that identify who's actually getting these turbines, we need to see those maps. Unfortunately for us, we've had to triangulate where those turbines might be, and so our accuracy could be completely off. I mean, we're taking rulers and state highway and intersecting with lines and trying to figure out who's actually going to get a turbine, right? Because the other thing that's happening, for those that may or may not know, is that there've been a lot of renewal of leases in Northern Limestone County. And I've been going downstairs in this building here, and some people are getting renewals and some people aren't. For instance, my neighbor is Green. He lives directly across the county road. They formed the ranch that I now own. Richard didn't get a renewal, and his wind lease has expired. Mr. Reed, who's directly north of me, has a couple of 100 acres. He's right on the line. I mean, he came to me, I bought his hay, he's right on the line, and he says he was pro-wind, but he didn't get a renewal. Why would they have renewed him? But let me tell you this, a lot of people got renewals. We got renewals in Limestone County outside of the reinvestment zone, which I think is pretty odd, and it makes you wonder, you know, is NG playing politics? I mean, it's not fair for some people to get renewals if they're pro-wind, and other people are not to get renewals. The other really interesting thing is I triangulate these turbines, and again, my accuracy could be way off. But I will tell you right now where I'm at, we got over 80% of those turbines are on people's land who do not reside in Limestone County. Okay, so think about that. We're going to give a tax abatement. They might even get royalties. If it goes through, I hope they get royalties. That money won't be in Limestone County. And if you want me to give you very specifics, the Clevelands, this one's easy because they're just west of the Hubbard, the square here, that's the Hubbard Independent School District. That's not part of this wind project. There's two turbines right there. You could easily go and figure out that's the Cleveland LLC. Those people lease land. Their address, by the way, is 1851 Starwood Cedar Park. That's in Austin, Texas. You get down a little lower in that map. I can't do both. I got to do one at a time.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you to hurry up.
Absolutely.
Finish up because we're kind of getting.
Thank you. This is the land that's been highlighted here. This is SRP, also known as the Slater. Their address is 3310 I-40. They'll get the majority of the wind turbines. That money's going to Amarillo, Texas, just so you know. You go across the north of my place, that's Mr. Riggs. Mr. Riggs lives in Corsicana, Texas. I've talked to him about purchasing that property, but I wanted nothing to do once I understood he had severed the wind rights. But you get in the far northeast quadrant of where these turbines are going to be. There are some individuals in that. And I don't want to call out any names in this room right now, but I think we deserve a map. We deserve to know where those wind turbines are. Now, why would we be allowing, if the money was coming to our county, which it's not, people would buy stuff. You look at what happened in Limestone County when XTO drilled those gas wells. Those farmers built metal buildings. They bought tractors locally. They built fences with local fence builders. The money actually went back to us. Okay, now we're talking about an industrial reinvestment zone that I'm not sure we're going to benefit in any way. There may be key individuals, but there are not a lot of people. And I think we deserve a map explaining that. And because things are so muddy, the last thing I want to say, guys, and I'm not trying to be offensive here, but the water's never going to clear up till we get the hogs out of the creek.
Thank you, sir. Okay. We also have, and I'm sorry if I, Mara Liskey, am I saying it right? Leach, I'm sorry. I see it now.
The one thing that I guess that I want to bring up, it's not so much the wind farm, it's how things are done in this county. Because I was curious on when several people in published articles and on social media are saying that people in Limestone County were not opposed to these wind farms. And I can go on and I can look at what Hill County did, and Hill County actually did the way it should have been done. When I look at the laws when it comes to entering into a tax abatement agreement, there are 3 different public notices that need to be given. 3 separate public notices. One is the guidelines and criteria. The second is designation of a reinvestment zone. And number 3 is discussing the approval of the abatement. And I can tell you the approval of the abatement, there needs to be a 30-day notice. Designation of a reinvestment zone is a 7-day notice. So I was curious, and I contacted the state comptroller's office and I asked them, I said, can you do one notice for 2 of those items on the list? And he said emphatically, no, you can't consider abatement. You can't talk about an abatement when you're doing a meeting for a reinvestment zone. So when there's a published, when I look up and I look at the published articles that are listed, well, first of all, let's start with step 1. One of the criteria that they have to meet is there has to be a public notice discussing the guidelines and criteria for tax abatement. I contacted the paper because I was curious, what public notices have been done? There was a public notice that was done on July 27th. Well, actually, no, it was published on July 15th in the Groesbeck Journal. It gave a 13-day notice to discuss the guidelines and criteria for tax abatement. It doesn't mention at all what the criteria and guidelines are for. It doesn't mention if it's for Waco Solar, if it's for the Limestone County Wind Project. There's no mention of this. And then when I go back and look at the next thing, where you have to do the reinvestment zone. When I pull up the reinvestment zone public notices for Prairie Hill and for Hubbard Wind, they can encompass both of those items in those public notices. There was never 2 separate public notices that were in the paper saying that this is for the reinvestment zone and this is to approve or discuss the abatement. So to me, it just seems, I'm just a little curious how Hill County could have people opposed to the wind farm in their county. Well, they actually did follow the right process and they did do the right public notices. In fact, they had an extra public hearing so that more people could come forward. But when I hear, specifically, the judge in the county saying that not one person in Limestone County opposed that, I really believe it's because they never knew about it until it was too late. And so I just think, I'm just going to give you one last example that has nothing to do with the Prairie Hill or any of the wind farms. There was a notice put in the paper for this Waco. I have it right here. It's going to be the last thing I bring up, but I would encourage all of y'all to go online. These public notices are easy to find. Waco Solar, they did a 3-day notice. So on the commissioners meeting on July 27th, they were wanting to not only have a public hearing for the creation of the reinvestment zone, but they also had to take possible and approved action for the abatement for Waco Solar. So you guys
Thank you, Ms.
have.
Lee. I'll give you just 10 seconds to wrap up.
Okay, so all I'm saying is I think something needs to change. There needs to be some transparency. And in fact, what he's talking about is the water's being muddy. I mean, it just makes you question how transparent the county is with the people that are actually paying the taxes in this county and spending the money in this county, not these absentee landowners. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move along. The next item on the agenda today is our consent agenda. We do have something in here that I think we want to bring forward. We will let Annette, if you want to come forward, we'll let you go ahead.
Actually, it's one of our youth who's going to speak for us.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and let that happen today. Come on up.
I am Braden Roach with Limestone Leaders 4-H. We throw usually 5 horse shows a year. And at our last horse show in October, we noticed that we were shy a few tables in the concession stand area because some had been recently broken because of old age. So our group has voted to donate 4 8-foot tables to be placed in the annex if it is approved, so that we can place 4 of the old tables in the annex over into the show barn. That is all I have.
That's it. So if I understand correctly, y'all are just wanting the commissioner to say whether or not we will accept a donation from you?
Basically,
Oh.
we just kind of like everybody to know what we're doing. And they just didn't have enough tables to seat the contestants that were coming.
Yeah.
So we spent some money to replace them.
Well, on behalf of Limestone County, and unless anyone has any problem, we would graciously accept that donation and we'll put it on the record of the donation. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, good job.
Okay, past that, I trust all of y'all had a chance to look at your consent agenda and your packets. Is there any other discussion?
I move we pass the consent agenda.
We do have a motion and a second. Is there any other action? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Let's go ahead then and move over to our regular agenda. And we're going to probably, for the sake of the ones that don't appreciate our hard chairs out there, move item number 20 and 21 up on the agenda. First item is going to be to consider and authorize setting a date for a public hearing and publication of notice in a newspaper of general circulation on the creation of a reinvestment zone for purposes of tax abatement to provide economic development within the county. What we'll do then is, if it's your pleasure, we need to go forward with simply approving to do a public hearing and set a date for that purpose. Anybody wants to make that motion?
Judge, I make a motion that we advertise and put in the newspaper and other publications for general circulation for a reinvestment zone for December, and have the public hearing December 14th.
Do you have a motion? Do we have a second? And we have a second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
What's it
That
for?
motion will pass.
What's it for?
I mean, we're totally lost. Y'all,
Mr. Gill, please. I told you before, we're gonna have this meeting of the commissioners here, okay? After the meeting, I'll be more than happy to visit.
but the public should know what y'all are
Mr.
talking
Gill, I'm
about.
gonna ask you one more time to please not interrupt us. That's the last time I'm gonna ask you. I'm trying to be as nice as I can be, sir.
I don't think so, but it's fine.
Okay, if you open your mouth again, I'm gonna ask you to leave. How's that? I'm sorry, but this is our meeting we're having to have here, so please, don't do it.
We're just trying to
Okay.
understand.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and it passed. Let's go ahead and go to item number 21, and just discuss or take possible action to give notice to other taxing jurisdictions of tax abatement pursuant to chapter 312. Basically, what that means is that within that reinvestment zone, we have to tell other people that collect taxes within that zone that we are looking at that as a reinvestment zone. Once again, just for the record, this is not us giving a tax abatement. This is us providing a reinvestment zone that basically is something that we do to try to promote people to come to Limestone County. However, this is not the abatement. So, does anyone want to make a motion that we at least notify? And I think the only person that we'd have to notify would be Coolidge ISD. Is that the way you understood it? Anyway, okay.
This is just a publication, we're not voting on no reinvestment zone or tax abatement today.
Not today. We're gonna have a public hearing next month to talk about if we want to approve the reinvestment zone. And then we're gonna talk about that, what we want to do there forward, after that. Do we want to give it a abatement or You know, as y'all heard, that some people are saying we're putting a cart before the horse. We're trying to do what our attorneys that we've hired tell us how we have to do this. Judge, none of us are basically, taxing geniuses, so we hire attorneys that tell us the process that we have to go through.
In the notice for the reinvestment zone, would that not, what it's for, would that not be in the note on the public notice for public hearing?
Yes, it could be, absolutely.
And we'll also notify the other action jurisdiction, assuming we approve that,
That's right.
and they will be notified of that.
That's exactly right. Anybody want to make a motion to notify the other taxing entities that we're gonna have a public hearing or not?
Yes, I'm like, okay, we have a public hearing on reinvestment zone.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now, y'all are all welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. We cordially invite you to stay and see, but if we won't consider it rude, if any of y'all want to get up and leave, we're supposed to. Let's go to item number 7, that's discussion and possible action on enacting a county burn ban. Matt, how we standing on this? Let's go ahead and, based right now, I think we've had enough moisture that we don't have to put the burn ban on, so we're gonna leave it off. All right, let's go ahead and go, and I know we have some other people here. I think we're gonna get through it fairly quick, so if y'all just bear with us, okay? Number 8 is discuss take action on renewal of a recycling center contract. This is a contract that we've done for every year that I've been here. And basically gives the city of Groesbeck a little bit of money to continue on with the recycling efforts here in Limestone County. I don't have anyone from the city of Groesbeck here to speak on his behalf.
Almost done that, I'll make a motion.
Okay. Have a motion, second, and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let's go to item number 9, that's discuss and take action on the renewal of Rosebank Public Library, the Moffett Memorial Library contract and agreement. As you know, each year we get monies to help out 2 libraries, basically in the county. We give money to Rosebank and Mahia, and this is Roseback's library asking for some help this year also.
I move that we approve the Groesbeck Public Library.
All right. Good. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. This next item that we have is going to be discussion and take action on amending policy number LCG 03B. That's rehiring the former employees that withdrew from the TCD RS account. There is 2 areas to this, and we passed this. I tell you what, the reason that we passed it last time, I mean, there was a time when the county said for retirees, people that were actually retiring, that when you retired, you could not be hired back in for basically a 6-month period. And then there was also one that talked about it also got included for just a regular employee that quit. That wasn't retiring, just quit. So the recommendation, the best that I can see it, is that, and let me just tell you also, so you'll know why this came back up. Right now, Murray, how many short are in the jail right now?
Counting the nurse and the one kitchen position, 10 short.
10 short. So what happened was, there was a lady that kind of prompted this, that quit, so I understand, went to another job, didn't like that other job. In the meantime, she pulls her money that she had paid in, the money that she paid in. She had already pulled it back from the retirement system. Then, after we gave some raises, we did some things, and we tried to make it better, she decided, you know what, I should have stayed there. So she came back. Now, this is a lady that's got all of her certifications, that basically is ready to go, but she was going to wait 6 months because of our policy. So that kind of person, I don't deem as the same as someone that retires, getting a paycheck, and it's agreed that they go right back to work. And so this What this does right here is, if we approve this today, we will change that from 6 months to 3 months for the employees that quit and drew their money out, but did not retire. And that's what this basically is about. You want to say something?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Whether it has to do with this person or someone else in the county, it doesn't matter, Judge. The rules are put in there for a reason. This will be the second time that we change something for one person. I'm not gonna have people call my office, ask me what they can do, me tell them, you cannot do that because that's what our book says, because that's what y'all said. And then them say, that's okay, we'll go through it, and then y'all say, okay. It's not gonna work that way. If it's gonna work that way, I'm gonna say, don't call my office, call the cops. Because I can't tell them what they can do if you're gonna change it every time. I can't do that.
Right.
And that is exactly what it says. It says, if you draw your money out. I asked the people when they called, it was Jamie, I asked her, I said, did she draw her money out? She said, I don't think so. I said, that's not a good enough answer. I have to know, because our book says if they draw it out, we cannot hire them back. She drew her money out on October the 1st. I called PCBRS on October the 1st part of October, she went out for it. We have got to get a really stick to it. We can't keep changing like this. And it's not fair to do it for one, because you have not done it for others. So y'all need to make a decision.
If I remember right, a couple, 3 years ago, maybe longer than that, we did that because people were getting in the habit or saw the ability to say, okay, I need $21,000. So they quit, took their money and then came right back to work. That way they could
I'm in
finance
agreement
their
with
house.
that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what it says in the book.
That's what we increased it to 6 months.
I'm talking about what I have to tell people when they call. I have to tell them, you can't do that.
Carol, let's be fair about this one thing. If we do a local rule, that's what this is. This is one of our local rules.
Okay,
And we say at that point in time, this is it for the rest of our lives.
okay.
It'll never get changed
But the
again.
thing is, you're a specific person, just like you did before, this is not a trustworthy.
But are we allowed to make changes to our local rules? They're trying to benefit.
Would you
Lyon
have
County
did
County.
this, if the person had not come forward? That's my question.
We wouldn't know to do it.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I cannot work that way. I cannot work. Well,
Then
you know,
what I'm
I don't know if
recommending-
the commissioners are gonna be okay with this, so maybe you better call them. I can't tell you what you can
Carol,
You can tell them what's in the guidelines.
just tell them what's in the guidelines.
do. And that's what should be, that's what's important, what's in the
Well, if we
guidelines.
change the guidelines in 90 days, then that's what you would know. Correct.
That's what-
If we change it from 180 days to 90 days, if we did,
Yes, I would tell
Then
you.
when somebody
That's-
calls,
that
tell them
has
it's
not
90
happened at this point.
do on that.
That was not the case at
Yes,
this
it
point.
was. When they called you, it was 180.
When they called me, it was 180 days. That's what I'm talking. Okay, that's what I'm talking. So now, because you get a call, somebody wants to go back to work, they say, okay, that's why we're changing the 90 days, just like the previous time with the others.
Judge, I hate to interrupt, I'm not trying to start a war, I'm not trying to certify it, I don't want to.
Oh, this is good war day. Go ahead.
We have people that are trying to come back to work. In our licensing, 180 days, is free. And after 180 days, it begins to cost money. You have to go back through all the process again, all the testing, all the psychologicals, all the other stuff. So if we can do it before 180 days, and she is right, y'all did change the rule. Well, the previous court changed the rule, not y'all. Previous court changed the rule. But the previous court changed the rule for one employee that y'all got mad at, that came from our office, that y'all thought we were hiring back, which was
I
not
have
my
no
plan.
idea why it was changed.
So,
These men that sit up here
Okay.
change the rules.
but, so it has been changed for one employee. I understand that. We're not trying to circumvent that. We're just trying to get back so that we have somebody that wants to come back to work. When we're 10 people short, we can't hire people. We have mandates we have to meet in the jail. We have mandates we have to have a set number of employees for people. We have other counties that are trying to send inmates here that we don't have enough people to guard, that we're cutting down and saying we can't accept it. So we're just trying to get it below the 180 days. So whenever somebody comes back to work, we can save the taxpayers money. We're getting that person back to work who's already been proven to work, has been proven to be there on time every time, doesn't call in sick. They left to go into the medical profession, decided that wasn't for them and they want to come back. You know, that's what we're trying to do and trying to save money on the backside. So whatever y'all decide, we appreciate it.
Okay. Once again, I'll need y'all to consider whether or not we want to. Now, let me just throw this out there. If someone's retiring and they're gonna start getting a check from the retirement system, then no, I don't think they ought to come right back, at the expense of allowing someone that's moving up to move up. I want us to keep that at 180 days if you're gonna retire. And then, if you just quit and draw your money, most people can't live on 3 months, basically, without a paycheck. So, I do say, let's leave it, I would recommend to the court that we go 3 months on that. We'll make a motion, or not to go forward this time. So moved. Okay, do you have a motion? Second. And a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's move to item number 11. That's going to be discussed the action on the fairground, sound system. There was some confusion on this, and what happened was, if I understand correctly, Mr. Ellis, you correct me if I'm wrong anytime I say something out of line, but we wanted to improve the sound system at the fairgrounds. I know it sounded terrible, we talked about that at length at these meetings. And what happened was, we got a quote from an ACI to a gentleman by the name of Kurt Poole, back in April of this past year. Well, it drug on and drug on and drug on, and then finally we decided to go ahead and take action on that, so we needed 3 bids. So I called Kurt Poole, and he says his bid is still good. Well, then I found out Kurt Poole's no longer with the company anymore, and the actual person that gave us that bid had a revised bid of about $5,000 more. So basically, we can put the sound system in based on we did get 3 quotes in, and ACI is still the one that I think we can go with, but it's gonna cost us about $5,000 more than we originally talked about. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, the reason for that being 5,000 more is because the first bid came in April. And obviously things have gone up since then, and they asked to rebid this at the current price.
Right. And we were trying to talk with a gentleman named Kurt Poole that some of us actually know even. And when he said his bid would be, he would honor that bid. Well, he didn't work for that company anymore. Right. And the new company that he's going with gives him over $57,000. So the decision we have today is, do we want to amend that one, and I say bid, it wasn't a bid, it's just quotes, because it is less than 50,000. So do we want to amend that quote, to add the additional $5,000? It's 36,000.
37,000.
A little bit less, 37.
So there is no price for 31,000, that's gone, that was an old bid. So.
In our last meeting, we didn't know that.
Right,
So,
you're doing the right number.
So, Mr. Ellis, we're not adding or taking anything away from that original bid. It's still the same specs and all that, correct?
As far as I know.
it is,
Same.
same equipment.
I move that we approve the fairground sound system, the adjustment.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. Any other discussion on this item? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, item number 12, consider and discuss authorization for Limestone County to issue requests for proposals for administrative services and requests for qualifications for the professional services for the American Rescue Plan. I'll be honest, when this first came out and we received the monies, the first monies, Natasha helped me on this, it was somewhere around 2.4 million, I think, that we got in, and we had visited with some people about it, but I thought, you know what? I can do this. You know, I said, let me just, I might have to hire someone, but I think I can do it, because what we're gonna do in Limestone County is, number one, we wanted to make sure that the water systems in place in Limestone County, that infrastructure got done throughout the entire county. And then the second part of that is, we wanted to use the other 2.4 that we're gonna be getting in to promote the, internet, basically towers throughout the county, so that we can get better internet out of the county. Those are the 2 areas that we were gonna do, that I was gonna present to y'all to do. But when you start finding out, and we've got Keith here today from that, I may let him speak a little bit, but, and I think y'all are gonna make a bid on this, but when you start thinking about all of the legal ramifications that you have to do in order to spend this money, it might be worth it to us to pay a company like E-Grants to help us make sure that we're dotting all of our i's and crossing all our t's. As y'all know, this is money that comes from the U.S. Treasury. This is money that they tell us very specifically how you can spend it. You know, we'd love to go out and do roads or whatever, but we can't. It's very limited on how we can spend this money, and it's constantly changing. So actually, all we're doing today, and all I'm asking you to do, Keith, you want to say anything at all?
Well, Judge, I'd like to address you and the commissioner's court. This act, the American Rescue Plan Fund Act, was passed on March the 11th. Counties and entitled cities receive their allocation directly from the Treasury. Non-entitled cities, their funds flow through the state through the Texas Department of Emergency Management. Today, there are only 4 eligible activities that the funds can be spent on. The first 3 have to be tied directly back to COVID. The 4th is water, sewer, broadband. So there's eligible activities. There is some legislation that would be aside from the American Rescue Plan that's in the Congress now. Passed the Senate, it's in the House. Don't know why it wouldn't pass, but today it hasn't passed. So those are 4 eligible activities. Unlike most grants, and if we talk about this every day, I'll say this every day, this is not a grant, but it functions like a grant. In most grant situations, whoever the letting agency is, the state or federal agency, there's an application process, and if it's competitive, the county will make applications for grant funds. The application and the project would be reviewed, and if the county or city was competitive, you would get an award letter saying we're going to give you X amount of dollars. With the American Rescue Plan, there is no application process, there is no approval process. The treasurer giving the county money and said, spend this and report and tell us what you did with it. So the documentation for your projects and activities is critical. And since there's no review process or approval process, in my opinion, it would be beneficial to the county to have a second pair of eyes looking over your project development and project management to ensure that we're following the guidance for the American Rescue Plan.
Thank you. And to give you a great example, I had a meeting with all of the water districts throughout the county and visited with what their needs might be. The thing that we aren't knowledgeable enough to know about is, number one, if we give, let's just say, SLC a couple $100,000, then I have to find out, are we responsible that they met all of the requirements of laying a new water line? And did they do the, you've always got to have an engineering firm usually and surveying and all this that we just are not capable of making sure that's being done legally. And the other thing is, the biggest fear is we don't want to spend money that they come back and say, you know what, Judge, y'all spent $1 million of that, and unfortunately, it's not something you could have done. Y'all need to pay us back $1 million. So that being said, I'm hoping that y'all will consider us putting this out for bid, not for GrantWorks, although I assume they may want to bid on it, but for anyone that is in this business that wants to help us with this American Rescue. So that's what's before you today.
Judge, can I ask a question? Yes, maybe you can answer it, and I should know the answer to this. Do we have a second check coming this year
We have another check coming,
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
for a similar amount?
exact amount.
So we're gonna be 4.6, 4.8?
Yes.
right. It was, 50% was deposited whenever the county registered.
I thought that was the case, I just wanted to verify.
And the other 50% will be deposited about a year from your first deposit.
And just to let you know, of what we think that we can use it for, and there's people, I'll tell you, there's people out there spending this money for things that I never would have dreamed that they could use it. They say that they feel comfortable with it. I don't feel comfortable spending the money unless someone tells me. or I can put the monkey on someone else's back as far as that goes, as far as something they do day in, day out. I will say that one of the most exciting things for Limestone County, and this will even help towards COVID, is if we get this broadband out in the county, there's a lot of areas in the county that just doesn't have very good, internet. And there are some requirements on how much they have to be able to provide. It's gotta be a minimum of 20 megawatts and, so, anyway, right now, we're looking at putting approximately, it could be as many as 25 to 30 individual towers up in the county where they can move this internet to people that just don't have it. Or are having to pay a ridiculous amount for the internet. That's something else I didn't realize, is how many of our citizens are paying a large amount for just getting basic internet and not a lot of the service. So anyway,
And Judge, if I might add for the commissioner's information, even though this is not a grant, the procurement of it must follow federal procurement guidelines. So there's a set process that you have sent a number of invitations to submit a proposal for an ad and paper. So you'll follow the federal procurement guidelines if you authorize to do this.
and basically all we're doing is letting, I guess, Natasha, you'll help us on this, but you'll actually get some specifications that we need and put it out to the areas that we need so that we can get people like Keith to come to us with and I'm assuming it's something like, okay, y'all got 4 million, we'll do it for 3, 5, 6, 8%, whatever, and that's what we'll judge, how much, who can give us the best price on, and it's an RFP, so it could be who we think is giving us the best service also. So anyway, what's the pleasure of the court?
Judge, I move that we issue a request for an RFP to professional services for the American Rescue Plan Act of 2004.
Okay. Motion and a second, any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item number 13 is discuss and take action on opioid litigant settlement. This right here is, you know, look at that. That is 1/60th of the amount of paper I've got on this settlement. And this happened long before I became county judge, and probably before most of y'all became commissioner members, with the exception of Commissioner Forrest. What's happened is we finally got a settlement, in as much as Limestone County would get $35,000. I believe it was 35 is what we're getting. So anyway, I went and talked to our county attorney, Roy DeFriend, asked him to review it. He thought it would be best if we went ahead and took the settlement, past that. It may come that they all go bankrupt and you don't get anything. So this is an opioid settlement through one of the companies. Several of the companies have already filed bankrupt, by the way. So all I'm doing today is asking if y'all want to accept that $35,000. It's actually a little more than that. It's $35,723 is what it is.
I make a motion to release the settlement.
All right. Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's go down to number 14. That's discuss take action on Vestal Networks. As y'all remember, we did Vestal Network came before us, talked to us about our telephone system here in Limestone County. After we did all the figures, the price is about the same as we have for CenturyLink. However, the savings is more than what we got right now. We're going to do if we go forward with this, we're going to do away with number one, the music on hold. Remember that was Commissioner Allen already had concern with that. But anyway, we're going to do away with that. Another thing we'll do is when people call into the courthouse, we'll give them a little bit of a treat. One thing I always hate is to call somebody and they say for the judge's office, press 1, and you get down to for the auditor, press 15. You know, that's just old. I'm of the old school. I mean, I like to hear people. On the same token, we do need to have about 3 or 4 so that we can divide up some of the calls that we get in here. And I know we have folks from the company here. Would you like to say anything to us on this?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we went through, did all of y'all's, literally took every single one of y'all's bills. Y'all have that shared spreadsheet that I sent y'all guys, and literally broke down every single thing. So every single location, you know exactly what account number is tied to what location, how much you're paying for phone versus internet there. Everything, all the information y'all gave me, I was able to parse through it and get a line item out. And yeah, we did come up underneath that amount. So Yeah, I mean, again, we're here to serve you guys and do whatever we need to.
One other thing that I would say is very valuable to us here at Limestone County is in our IT department. If a phone goes down, the IT guys have to try to fix it for us. In the future, if we have any kind of concerns with our phone company, if I understand you correctly, we call you and you take care of it.
You got it.
That'd be very valuable to us here in Limestone County.
Yeah, so we do not want to ever point the finger. And so that we actually take account of all of y'all's, internet accounts and other stuff like that may affect our phone service and, make sure we actually look at it from a holistic standpoint. And if y'all ever do report an issue to us, we try to actually figure it out and take care of those issues so that you don't have to, have any downtime or anything like that.
I need to ask the commissioner if y'all want to go into a contract with Vestige yet.
I move that we can enter into a contract with Vestige Network.
Second. We do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, let's go to item number 15. That's going to be discuss take action on casting votes for the Limestone County Appraisal District Board of Directors. I know that we, at one point in time, mentioned some names that we might want to look at. I think Commissioner Ford has done a little bit of homework on this. You want to tell the court what you found out?
Yes, sir, I would make a motion that we cast our ballots, 950 for Lewis Garner, 230 for Jack Bean, and the balance of our 1,800 something, and Judge, I don't have that form with you, but the balance of our votes, which I believe 600 something for Troy and Miller.
Okay, we do have that in the form of a motion, so before we go any further, we'll have to have a second. Second. We do have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on this item? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that'll pass.
That last figure was 656.
656, thank you, sir. Okay, let's go ahead then and move on to, accept for record a statement of financial position, Limestone County Community Supervision and Corrections Department. Dana, if you're ready?
Yes, I don't know if y'all have any questions. This basically just lets you know how financially we ended the last fiscal year so that you can see how we're starting the next fiscal year.
I know y'all had this in your package. Is there any other discussion on this? Any questions? If not, I'll ask your reviews about passing this. Do we have a motion? Second. And a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that'll pass. Let's go to item number 17, discuss take action on repairing courthouse windows with Premier Metalworks. Sam, if you want to speak a little bit to that, I know we passed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know we addressed this last commissioner court meeting, but since then, we've had some minor changes. They misbid that quote by $2,500 because they only had a 60-foot boom and we need the 80-foot boom to get up to the third floor, and that's an honest mistake on the contractor's part. The other issue is that because we're going forward with the work, that toggles a possible extra architectural fee. They want us to encumber about $5,000 for those fees. I thought at the time that once we decided on materials and methods that we could just move forward without the architects. But the state does not want to do that. They want the architects here the entire step of the way. They want to have them mock up the windows. They want to check, make sure the materials are what they're supposed to be using. Unfortunately, they won't leave that to us, that they require that an architect do that work. So that's going to bump that 104 figure from up to, another $2,500 for the boom lift. And we may not spend all that $5,000, but it's going to run close to that. And I wanted you guys to be aware of that. Now that's beyond our grant money. So roughly figured how much we have left in the grant, Natasha.
The last email that we got from Mr. James was about $88,000 still available for him.
So
And that was
the county's gonna have to pony up about $23,000, $23,500 to get the 88 wrapped it up. It'll still leave us with some work to be done. We'll have to, have to look at that as budget year. But I really feel that, you know, some of these, when these are the worst windows, it can cost up to $3,500 per window to have a restoration if we do this work. And I know what everybody's thinking, my God, man, that's a lot of money for somebody to come out and take a window apart, put it back together. But it's gotta be done by the book, and that's where we're at right now. We need to go ahead so that we can continue on with the work and schedule it in.
Okay. We talked about this, you said there's still monies to do
There's
this.
still additional monies in the capital projects fund that would cover whatever the grant. Now, yes.
Okay, do you want to have any questions, or does anyone want to make a motion to go ahead and go forward with Premier how it works at that new price for the 2,500 and the 5,000 max 75? So, motion and second, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, item number 18 is discuss and take action on permission to advertise for hay cutting rights for Limestone County Airport. I'll say one thing, they fell on hay out. Anyway, every time I go by there, it's lots of money. Anyway, all we're doing right now then on this agenda item is to get a permission to go out to advertise for someone that advertise for those rights. So they can. Thanks, Sam. I'll make that motion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on that? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, number 19, we're gonna do discuss and take action on a salary adjustment. This is at the jail. Let's see what this is actually for a promotion. This is someone that is filling in a position of someone that retired. If I understand correctly, Marty, is that correct?
Yes, sir. This is just promoting one from a
This
corporate.
is really nothing to do with the budget this year. This is just in terms of maybe promoting someone up to a position that retires.
I make that motion if we make it a salary adjustment for this year.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Last but not least, number 22, that's the adjournment. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. And we'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much. This is all over the last.
Yeah, I'll get you.